today's episode of the Writer's Corner live show, we're going to be talking to an amazing author, Natasha Deen, who has been nominated for several awards, and her novel, The Signs and Wonders of Tuna, Rashad, was nominated CBC Top 14 Canadian Young Adult Books to Watch. Don't go away. We'll be right back with the Writer's Corner live show. If you've just joined us, you're watching the Writer's Corner live show. I'm Bridget Limbanda from Cape Town in South Africa, and in today's show we're going to be talking to author Natasha Deen. If this is your first time watching the show, then do let us know. We'd be happy to give you a shout out to welcome you. Our stream is made possible by StreamYard, Creative Edge, and Be Live Media. So warm welcome wherever you are watching us on any of our platforms where we are live. You are welcome to let us know, and we would love to give you a shout out or just acknowledge you. We love talking to our audience, and if you've got a question for our author, please don't hesitate to ask. One of the things that we love doing on the Writer's Corner live show is helping authors level up, because authors around the world are still introducing their books online to their readers, because things have not quite gone back to what we call normal, where I think some authors have started doing online, doing signings in person and doing appearances, but that's not, I don't see that normalizing in the near future just yet. So one of the things that we recommend that you do if you are still promoting your books online is that you invest in something like a webcam, which Mary and I both use the Logitech Brio. We love the camera because it's got a technology built into it that automatically adjusts to your lighting conditions. But first and foremost, you want to make sure people can hear you. And so what we recommend is either a condenser microphone. I use the Samsung Logitech, but if you don't want to use a big microphone, we do recommend that you invest in something like the Rode Lavalier microphone, which is a simple clip-on microphone, but will make a huge difference and people will hear you clearly. And one other tip that we like to share with people on the show is that a lot of the authors use their phones to go live, and there's nothing wrong with that. But if you ever wondered why those black lines on the side when you're using your phone, you can fix that simply by turning your phone into landscape, and you'll have a bigger real estate. You can use your hands to make gestures and be a bit more interactive and show your book, and not try and share that tiny little screen when you're in portrait mode with a book and so people can see you. I'm going to bring on my amazing co-host, Mary Elizabeth Jackson. We've been doing the show together for just on 4 years now. Mary is a award-winning author, children's book author in her own right. She's also a disabilities advocate and a ghostwriter. So welcome to the show, Mary. How are you today?
Fantastic. I'm excited to be here. I know it's so weird to say 4 years, isn't it? Because it feels like yesterday we just started, and we have met, I use a plethora, that word, of authors over the years. And today is no less exciting than every time we do a show. So we're just so grateful to have the authors that we have met and get to learn about them. And we get to share an amazing woman today, don't we?
Absolutely. We've just met some of the most amazing authors that you possibly ask for. And so for anyone who's not met our author today, Natasha Deen, she is a multi-genre author. She teaches Introduction to Children's Writing at the University of Toronto. She's published over 30 books for children, young adults, and adults. That's a lot.
That's a lot of writing. Yes.
And her work has won several awards. She was nominated for, or she won, her book In the Key of Nira Ghani won the 2020 Amy Mathers Teen Book Award. And the book we're going to focus on today, which is The Science and Wonders of Tuna, Rashad, was nominated the CBC Top 14 Canadian Young Adult Books to Watch. So let's not waste any more time.
That's amazing.
That is
amazing.
She's amazing. Let's welcome our author to the show, shall we?
Yes.
Wow, what a great introduction. I think I want to like record, keep that in my back pocket when the writing gets rough. Just be like, oh no, I remember what was said.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Because we need that motivation sometimes when things are kind of in a lull or we are feeling kind of down or, you know, yeah, we do need that motivation. So you got the video now, Natasha.
It's mine, man. It's mine.
That's right.
Thank you both for having me here. I'm so excited to be here.
No, we're so glad
it's
you're
an
here.
absolute pleasure. Oh my goodness. We just, you know, I never get tired. Even after 4 years, we meet so many phenomenal authors from around the globe. You know, for anyone who doesn't know, Mary and I have been doing the show together for 4 years and we've never met in person, but we're the best of friends, you know. Yeah. So you really, this medium is just phenomenal because, you know, you literally feel like you're sitting around the table. You know, it's you just having a casual chat, and I know a lot of people are averse to the whole idea of appearing on camera. And, you know, it looks like you talk to an inanimate object. But you know, once you get into this, it just feels so natural and normal. And you know, I'm just sort of wanting to say to people, just jump onto camera. It's so much more intimate than just voice.
Yeah, it's really nice. And you're right above me in Canada, and Virgetti is in South Africa, and I'm in the States. So we are definitely global. And we have people who watch us from all over the world. It's really amazing. We know authors that are sprinkled all over the planet. And, you know, it's interesting to be on this journey together. It really is an interesting journey. And we're all trying to do the same thing, write a great book, put great words out there, help people, inspire people, motivate people, you know, and so sharing is very important, isn't it? Because we hope that you will have some new fans from our audience, and maybe we'll have some new fans from your audience, and it works out great.
Yeah, I agree with that. I agree with that completely.
So talking about journeys, you said, Mary, Natasha, can you just give us a sort of a short, abbreviated version of your journey into becoming an author? You know, did you just one day wake up and decide you're going to write? How that worked out for you?
So when I was a kid, I mean, you know, a lot of us want to be writers. And I read Gordon Corman's This Can't Be Happening at McDonald Hall. And in the author bio, it said that he had published this book when he was 13. And I thought, oh my gosh, this is amazing. So I asked the teachers and the librarians and, you know, my folks, like, how do you do this? And no one had an answer. So I thought perhaps that being an author was a little bit like winning the lottery, you know. And so I set that down for a very, very long time and sort of went into sort of, you know, grown up things. You know, I'm going to be a lawyer. I'm going to be a psychologist. And it was during school that I university started writing to sort of keep my sanity. And what happened was I read a really terrible book. Like, it was just horrendous. And I remember thinking to myself, okay, it's one of two things. Right? Either being a professional writer is much, much harder than I think, or this author has no respect for her audience. And then I thought, okay, big mouth, you know, put your money where your mouth is. It's so easy to sit on the sidelines and criticize. And this time, like, you know, 2005, 2006-ish, you know, we had the internet, and I could go and do research and all those kinds of things. And that's what started the journey, was a terrible book. And, you know, 15, 20-ish years later, I realized I was right on both counts. Writing is much harder than we ever sort of give it credit for, but also she did not respect her audience. And I feel like that's rule number one of any author, is you respect your audience or go home and don't write that book.
That is, yeah, I mean, you just said it all there. It is a very elusive world, because it's sort of like, where do you find a publisher, and how do you learn about this, and how do you know what to do and not get taken for, you know? It's really hard. You need to definitely talk to somebody who's already doing it and get advice from them. And you probably get asked questions all the time, I'm sure. So we want to know more about the book we're discussing today and the character Tuna. So, you know, where did the character come from? Usually it's somebody in our life, you know. For writers, it's great because you can write a story or a scene to work out something that maybe didn't work out in your life. So it's kind of cool to be able to do that, you know. You want to punch somebody in life as you can punch them in a story, you know, your character can. So can you tell us, like, what inspired this character for you?
Well, there was a couple of things that sort of came together. One was the growing welcomeness for diverse stories and for characters who are not, you know, sort of what we think of as the traditional type of character. There was also a conversation with one of my family members where we were talking about a younger family member who was like super loving, really, really caring about their elders, but also in that caring was kind of, you know, overbearing in how they sort of went about, you know, micromanaging their elders' care and health. And I just thought it was hilarious. I thought it was so funny that this person in their love was sort of making life really difficult for the seniors in their lives. And I thought, wouldn't that be hilarious if, you know, that was a character? And then I thought, actually, the funnier thing is if my character has to deal with this person. And so that's how Robbie, the brother, came about. And then Tuna is trying to deal with Robbie. And really, it was, the whole book is just sort of a celebration of family and Guyanese culture. And Tuna was a lot of fun to write because she is unapologetically herself. She's an aspiring screenwriter. She believes in the Caribbean philosophy that your ancestors watch over you. And so you're always aware of your surroundings because they will send you signs to tell you, hey, I'm looking out for you, I'm protecting you. You know, that thing you're wondering about, like, here's what I think, sort of thing. Like, here's the sign. And so that was really fun to create her. And then also just writing a super funny story. So it was sort of like all those things coming together to create Tuna, who is just trying to ask out her crush, Tristan, and trying to do this all while dealing with her very overbearing but super loving brother, Robbie, who is also dealing with grief because he's just lost his husband. So it's like all those things. And, you know, of course, she's got to do it all before sons, and she moves to Georgia for school.
That is amazing. Such a great and interesting storyline, or should I say a relatable storyline for many people. So I want to ask you a question coming from South Africa and Africa, where we have so many diverse cultures. In South Africa, for example, we have 11 official languages, if you can believe that, in one country. And we're hoping to add sign language as a 12th official language in the next couple of months. We don't have it, but we soon will have sign language as an official language added as well. What does it mean for you to have Tuna as a representation of a diverse culture, and what made you want to do that? I know here in Africa, for example, for little for a lot of people, being able to read a book that represents their culture is a huge deal. What was that like for you?
Well, for Tuna and the representation of the culture, it really is a big deal. You know, Guyana is a very small country. There's not a lot of folks that know about us and our culture, and we sort of we're in this weird place because we're considered Caribbean, but we're actually part of South America, and we're part of South America, but we're the only English-speaking country in South America. So there's all these very kind of interesting places we inhabit. And, you know, the idea wasn't just to like celebrate the culture, but I think also for many of us who come from sort of non-Western culture, there's this idea that we can be diverse, but only so diverse, you know, like quietly diverse. And I just kind of wanted to turn up the volume on that, you know, and so that's why I have Tuna, you know, listening for the ancestors and watching for these signs, because that is core of, you know, and part of who she is. And I love the fact that as a character, she doesn't apologize for it. She's science oriented. She loves math. She loves the arts and creative, but this part of who she is, and she's not going to justify or rationalize it to anyone, which sort of puts her in obstacle with both Tristan and Robbie at different points in time. But I really wanted her to be strong and to be powerful. And like I said, and just not sort of like, you know, bow and drop her gaze when these things came up. But to just say, nope, this is it. And this is part of my culture. And, you know, from like a personal standpoint too, it's something that I've always been really curious about in terms of like the history and the origin of where this came from. You know, like, was it because we are a culture that was formed from slavery and indentured servitude, and was this a rebelliousness of the ancestors that came before us, who said, you can steal our children, you can steal our spouses, but even in death, you cannot stop the love we have for each other. We will watch out for them. We will, you know, always be there for them. Or was it just a really great way for adults to make sure that the kids were behaving when they weren't in the room, right? Like, oh yeah, no, go ahead, go play. But remember, you know, great aunt so-and-so is watching out. So be aware, and we'll know. She'll tell us if you're misbehaving, you know. And there's a poor kid just being like, oh, okay. You know,
that's a good way to keep kids in line. Somebody's watching, you know. And you know, well, we have, what is it over here? It's the elf, right, at Christmas, and it's only that time of year, right? With the shelf on the elf, or elf on the shelf. Sorry, I can't even talk. Yeah, but you know, I just think it's so amazing, the respect for ancestors that happens in most of the cultures across the globe, that you don't always see in the Western culture. And it's I don't understand it, because the elders hold the wisdom, and you know, they should be the guides for those that are underneath them, you know. So with your Tuna character, do you see yourself in this character, or is it completely fictional? Like, is it like your avatar?
Yeah, she is much more confident and what's the word, fierce than I could ever be. Like, I am perpetually anxious about everything, and you know, and I second guess. No, I don't. I second, third, 100th guess everything I say and do. You know, and she on the island is just like, nope, this is what I want. This is what I'm going to go for. I mean, she's going to ask out Tristan. I never had the courage to ask out anyone. So in a lot of ways, yeah, she is totally my fantasy person, where I'm like, well, maybe if I'm really lucky, when I grow up, I can be like her, you know?
That is the beauty of writing, isn't it?
Absolutely. So when you look at Tuna as a character, what do you hope your readers would walk away with from the story?
Oh, that's a great question. And I have sort of like two answers to that, because on the one hand, I don't ever really have a core intention of what I want people to walk away from, because, and I think this is sort of like the magic of what a story is, right? Like I can give everybody in the world a copy of Tuna, and so they will all have the same book, but no one's going to read the same story, because at the moment in time we start reading a story, our hopes, our dreams, our past, like all of it comes in, and it filters in and it colors these stories. So all of a sudden the story I've written is not necessarily the story you're reading. So I'm writing a story saying, oh, this is a cat, and someone else is going to read that story and go, no, this is an elephant, and someone else says, oh, no, this is a tiger. So on the one hand, I really just want to create a space where readers can come to it at whatever level and take from it whatever they want. But if I had to choose something, I would want, I think, it to be that different is beautiful. You know, like who we are as individuals, it's our quirks, our eccentricities, the unique ways that make the world better and more interesting, you know. And whenever I do school visits, I always talk about that with kids. Like, yeah, you know, like if you wanna walk into a garden that has nothing but red roses, like that is beautiful. But walk into a garden that has different colored roses and buttercups and daffodils, and all of a sudden, like, that's the garden, right? So our different ways of coming to the world are just glorious and beautiful. And I hope in the same way that people, you know, love Tuna because of her individuality, that also gives them the strength and space to also embrace their own individuality.
And do we need that more than ever right now, right? Embracing who we are, but being okay with who everybody else is as well is so, so very vitally important. Otherwise, you know, we'd have one spice on the planet, right? We just have pepper, or we just have salt, or we just have turmeric. And well, some people can't handle turmeric all the time, but you know what I mean? I love turmeric, but I mean,
know what you mean, right?
Yeah, so it's the same way with people. And we would love for you to read from the book, so we can give our audience a little bit of taste, and then, you know, they're going to just have to go get it because it's going to be so amazing. So,
all right, so I'm going to read where Tuna and Robbie meet up for the first time. And so Robbie has shown up at the door of the house, and Tuna doesn't want to let him in. And so Robbie says, Tuna, you ninny, open up. How do you know it's me on the other side? Because Mom and Dad would have opened the door by now. No, you're the worst brother in the world. I'm not surrendering to whatever weird thing you're going to make us eat tonight. Look at the video monitor. On my screen to the left, he shifts towards the camera. I open the door and take hold of the cake box. You're still the worst brother in existence, but you may enter. He grins and steps inside. Backward, I shove him out the door. Tuna, don't be superstitious. Robbie, respect the rules of the house. He grins, but steps backwards into the house, then spins and smiles at me. The worst, the very worst thing about my brother, the tyrant, aka Robbie Hosea Rashad, is how very, very much I love and adore him. Robbie wraps me in a tight hug, and typical sibling puts just enough pressure into it that I'm certain I can hear the faint crackling of hairline fractures forming across my ribs. And then so they sort of have this quick conversation where Tuna is hammering him about the way he's dressing, you know, and then they move into the kitchen, and he says to her, like, you know, go open it up, open the box. And she says, she takes the box into the kitchen and she says, what kind of cake? And he says, look. There's a lift in his words. And from 18 years of being his sister, I know it's going to be a very good cake, or he's put some Nimrod prank into it. I set the box on the countertop and lift the pink lid with cautious fingers. When nothing jumps out at me, I lift it the rest of the way. Inside is a cake decorated with a tuna fish swimming underwater. Above the waves are a trio of butterflies, pink, purple, and orange. No blue ones. That's not an oversight. It breaks my heart just a little. Tuna for the little fish. Butterflies because she loves them. It's chocolate on the inside, he says, and gives me a kiss on the top of my head. You're the worst kind of tyrant. What kind is that? A loving one. And so I share that scene because it sets up the conflict, right? It's really easy for us to stand strong against people that we don't necessarily like, or it's much harder to stand up and give the hard truths to the people that we love and we respect and we look up to. And that's what Tuna's going to have to do if she's going to help Robbie deal with his grief over losing his husband.
Wow. That is amazing. Just absolutely love that. Natasha, tell us a little bit about the cover. How did you come up with that cover? It's a beautiful cover.
Oh my gosh, can I just do a shout out? This is the Running Kids design team, who I love and adore, because they come up with the most beautiful covers. And this was all them, you know. We talked about Tuna and her love of butterflies, and how butterflies are sort of like this magical realism within the scope of the story, right? Are the ancestors sending it to her, or is she just looking for butterflies and taking meaning from the world? And they were like, "Oh, okay. Well, what do you think about this?" And I was like, "I think I'm going to sleep with this at night and just cuddle it like a bear." That's what I think. But yeah, it was all their gloriousness, nothing to do with me, I wish.
Wow, it really is beautiful. And you know, it's a book cover can make all the difference between somebody buying it and somebody not buying it. So it's just one of the most vital key ingredients of being an author and a writer, isn't it?
No, it really is. And can I just show you, like, this was what they did for the paperback of Nira. And just like the little tiny detail with, you know, the cutout of the trumpet, because the trumpet is Nira's best friend in the book, and just like these little tiny details. And if you ever see the hardcover for this book, it is like this glorious hot pink magnificence. Like, just I wish I had that level of visual, like being able to visualize and put into illustration what I see in words. But
it's
thank goodness people do.
Yeah, right. I know. It's a real talent people have. Not everyone can do it.
That is absolutely gorgeous. And, you know, I want to just circle back to something you said right in the beginning, which I thought was very, very special. You know, when you said that an author should have respect for their readers. I don't think I've heard anyone else sort of vocalize that. You know, because when you write with your audience in mind, you pay attention to the tiniest little bit of detail in the book and how you present that work of art to your audience. I think that's phenomenal. Natasha, thank you so much. It was amazing chatting to you on our show today, and we would definitely love to have you back again sometime. Any final words for readers out there that you'd like to say before the close of the show?
No, just thank you for spending time with us today, and thank you for spending time with my books and my fellow writers' books. And to all of the, you know, there's someone out there in your life who is a reluctant or struggling reader. Give them the same piece of advice my mom gave me. Pick up the book, read the first 5 pages. If you don't like it, go ahead and put that book down. It just wasn't for you. Go ahead and find another book, right? But there is a book there for you. So 5 pages, and don't feel like you got to finish it.
That is awesome advice, and we're going to close the show out with that. Thanks, everyone. See you next week.